Tell us a little bit about Ecstatic Hearts and just sort of Tantra in general. I know y'all offer all kinds of workshops and online trainings and all kinds of great stuff on your website. So tell us about it.
Okay. Well, first of all, what is Tantra? That's a big topic itself, and it's been around for thousands of years. And what we do at Ecstatic Hearts is we provide Tantra as a form of yoga. So we use things like touch, sound, movement, breath, and sexual energy and mindfulness to help people have an embodied experience of love. So we're really helping people just learn how to open up their hearts, to feel more powerfully. We're also using things like breath to help improve your health. And we're helping people really have more joy and love in life. And it also can dramatically improve their love life as well. And that's pretty much what we are. We're community, and so we are big believers in, just making the world a better place.
Yeah, so, and y'all share that with people through like individual coaching and all these other avenues and resources?
Yeah, we do private lessons, group workshops, weekend workshop intensives, and some online programs.
We even teaches at resorts and cruises too. Which
Oh, wow.
Fun.
Yeah.
Fun.
So what does that actually look like? I mean, somebody walks into a class and you're going to teach them how to love. I mean, I'm imagining more yoga mats and fewer blackboards, but do I even have that right?
Yeah. We're a very experiential group.
Sure.
So we really do a lot on embodiment training. So depending upon the event that you come to, we teach different things because there's so much within this topic to cover. But a lot of it's embodiment and embodied intimacy and connection. So we teach people how to get into their bodies, how to get present, how to get in touch with your body, to awaken your senses so you physically feel more, to relax into the space so you can relax into connection both in your own body and relaxing into connection with another person. And we do a lot of interactivity so that you get to connect with other people one-on-one, as well as connect into the whole group and feel the cohesive energy of a room bonding together and kind of like that energetic link together.
Yeah,
And,
so forgive me as I sort of cycle this through like my therapist language, but it sounds like a lot of grounding exercises and then maybe even a step that is beyond that of not just grounding into your own body, but being connected to somebody else who's also grounded into that same space. Is that maybe a way of conceptualizing?
Yes.
It's all about learning how to connect more with others. And when you start doing that, you connect with the universe as well.
But yeah, the grounding part's very true. I like to begin with grounding and end with grounding. And it's so important to like get centered before you like kind of move on to anything else.
Yeah, and mindfulness is one of the keys that you start with. So you really, first of all, figure out your focus has power. And so quieting your mind and learning how to feel the sensations of your body, because there's a lot of wisdom that the body has. And most people are like, I was totally disconnected from my body. And so then you can start doing some things. You start feeling your energy. And that's one of the topics of like, what is energy? I didn't know when I first started doing this, but with practice, you can start feeling and moving and experiencing some really amazing things that I can only describe as divine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, working as a therapist, especially with folks who are experiencing sexual trauma or people in the queer community, there's a lot of that sort of disconnectedness, that habit of disassociating, of just not being present in a sexual experience. And I mean, that's been true for a very long time, but it sounds like a lot of the work that y'all do is sort of about reversing that or just helping people actually be there while they're having sex.
Exactly. Yeah, one of the things we call on Tantra, we call them, what are the blocks to bliss? What are all those things in your body and in your mind that are getting in the way of your bliss? Because bliss and pleasure is our natural birthright. Like, we are designed to experience bliss and pleasure. And through Tantra and through some of the ritual practices that we do and whatnot, we learn how to kind of move out that stagnant energy, those blocks, that stuff that's in the way of us connecting and feeling more energy and awakening the nerves and our sex so that we can like actually take in and feel more pleasure. And so many people were just numbed out, not feeling because of trauma that they've experienced through their life. And almost all of us have experienced trauma in this modern world. The fear of abandonment, the fear and the pain of rejection, the pain of any sexual abuse. So there's so much out there to like get rid of.
And shame.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right,
Shame
for
and guilt.
sure.
Well, and even just this notion that pleasure is a noble pursuit. You know, I mean, I think in this culture, we take so much from Judeo-Christian philosophies. We see so much Calvinism and just this idea that, honestly, if it feels too good, it's probably wrong.
Thanks,
I mean,
Augustine.
yeah, I think that's like a basic philosophy that whether we acknowledge it or not, that is kind of on the tip of everybody's tongues, at least in this country at this moment. So to even just let people know that, yeah, you can spend hard-earned American dollars and an entire weekend on learning how to have great sex, and it doesn't make you a frivolous monster.
No.
I mean, that's a strong message on its own right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sex is one of the most amazing things you can do to express love, you know, and love, I think, is the highest calling. And, you know, when you feel your connection with other people, you know, you can follow your bliss and pleasure and be even a hedonist, because to me, my greatest pleasure is creating pleasure in others. My greatest joy is creating joy in others. So why would I not want that, you know? And it's a beautiful path. You know, one of the things you're also doing from a scientific perspective is you're actually rewiring your neural network, you know, neuroplasticity. If you're starting to have more and more pleasure in your body and you're training yourself to feel it, you're actually rewiring your brain so that you can access pleasure more easily, you can go deeper, and you can intensify it. And that's, so the people that are in our classes over time, they're the happiest, most excited, fun people I've ever met, which is a great world to live in.
Yeah. Yeah. We personally, in our teachings, are big believers of a daily practice. So for me, a daily practice really helps to, it's like a short yogic practice that really utilizes the most, the best practices that we've learned to achieve states of relaxation, connection, energy, and to open ourselves up to receiving more pleasure and orgasmic bliss the fastest, easiest way possible. Because we live in a busy world where we don't have all day, every day to live in a monastery or whatever to
5 minutes a day.
attain enlightenment or whatever. So we're all about the quickest, fastest, easiest path to bliss.
Yeah, so forgive me for trying to put things in boxes, but this is less about, you know, using a counterclockwise twist or like the actual mechanics of while you're having sex, do this, and a lot more about a daily mindfulness, yoga type, meditation type practice. Is that kind of right?
Yes. Yeah, well, there's plenty of tantric touch practices that are in the sexuality. We don't actually focus on that because our philosophy is if you go through the work and you learn how to remove the blocks to bliss and open up your channels so that you can start running energy more clearly in your body, then doing the practices of kind of maintaining that openness and clearness in your body and coming into connection with your partner and love with your partner, then the mechanics of what you do in the bedroom, that's all about following what works for the two of you.
It's worth noting that the more you do this, the more you can actually start. We show you in one weekend that you're psychic, you know, and which I didn't believe in until when I started Tantra. But you can actually start reading people's minds. You can start feeling their emotions. You know, a lot of times, if you out there might have had an experience where during lovemaking, you kind of lose your identity, your sense of self, and you kind of the ego blurs, and you're able to connect with that person. Well, this is a practice of learning how to connect that deeply with other people.
Managing and intentionally utilizing those techniques.
Yeah.
That really gets exciting.
And we do like to talk about sex and get into some practicalities of how to improve your sex life specifically. But like the Tantra and what we teach is not all about that.
Yeah.
And it's
We'll
not in
just have
classes.
some conversations on some things to take home with you.
We send them home to practice.
Yeah. So the notion being that happy, healthy, mindful people are having great sex.
Yeah.
I'm trying to achieve that. Okay, well, I mean, we obviously talked about folks who have experienced some level of trauma, but beyond that, I mean, who is this good for? Who's coming in? Who should be coming in? I'm kind of seeing on your faces, maybe everybody to some extent.
I'm biased. I really don't understand why they don't teach this in schools because, it sounds, sorry about schools, but really the fundamentals of Tantra are learning how to, get rid of all the stuff that's in our way of joy. And, if people can learn how to handle their emotions and communicate effectively and, listen to their bodies and so forth, it eliminate a lot of the problems, even consent and talking about how to have a discussion around how to have sex is like missing in our culture. But I've had students that are 18 and I have students that are 83, so but we do recommend in our culture and society that you probably need to be 18 just because, we are dealing with sexual topics and so forth. So,
So I've got a quick question about that same topic. I come from an interesting perspective where I am a witch, so I am aware of all the different practices and rituals and teachings of various spiritual pathways, let's say. And a lot of them seem to focus on this duality of masculine and feminine. And I noticed that phrasing on your website as well. And I'm wondering how that corresponds with people who maybe don't fall into that binary.
So the interesting thing around the duality or the polarity of masculine and feminine, we really talk about that a lot in Tantra. And part of it is our philosophy is that we all have masculine and feminine energy within us. It's like two sides of the same coin. And by learning Tantra and by embracing the masculine side and the feminine side, we're learning to be more whole and complete individuals. And the more we can understand masculine energy and what's masculine, feminine energy and what's like feminine, and not from a male-female perspective, a masculine, feminine, energetic perspective and polarity, the more we can understand our partners when they're coming from the opposite polarity. Because generally, whenever we find ourselves attracted to someone, regardless of what our gender identities are, there's a polarity within the masculine, feminine energy. And usually we're both at opposite ends on those energies. So whenever we don't understand it, sometimes that's part of, while it's part of our attraction, it can also be part of clashing.
Oh, sure.
So the more that we're able to understand it and to be able to access it ourselves, the more in harmony we can be with our partners and get them when they're coming from an opposite polarity than us.
And one of the things I love about our style of Tantra is we're not belief-based. We're not a religion. We have members of all different religions as well as atheists and agnostics. We have people who identify and have orientations of all different types. I mean, we really, it's just like a practice, It's like just yoga can be used for anybody to help. If they want more health, more joy, and even it can lead to a spiritual connection, whatever that looks like for people too, which is pretty extraordinary.
Well, those are some really exciting claims, and I'm excited to kind of dive into sort of the mechanics and some of the nitty-gritty of all of that.